3,000 years ago, an entire army stood frozen in fear. For 40 days, a giant, nearly 10 feet tall, walked out of the Philistine camp and roared the same challenge across the valley. And for 40 days, not one soldier of Israel dared to answer. Until a shepherd boy arrived carrying bread for his brothers, heard the giant's voice, and asked a question that would change history. Who is this man that he should defy the armies of the living God? This is the Valley of Elah. On one ridge, the army of the Philistines. On the other, the army of Israel under King Saul. Between them, a strip of open ground that neither side was willing to cross. The Philistines were the superpower of the coast. They held a secret Israel did not, the working of iron. Their blades were harder, their armor heavier, their confidence absolute. And Israel had a king. Saul stood head and shoulders above every man in the nation. If anyone should have answered a giant, it was him. But Saul stayed in his tent, because every morning and every evening the champion of Gath came down into the valley. His name was Goliath. Scripture measures him at 6 cubits and a span, over 9.5 feet tall. His bronze coat of armor weighed 125 pounds. The iron point of his spear alone weighed 15, and his voice rolled up the hillsides like thunder. Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your servants. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our servants. One man, one fight. Winner takes the nation. And on hearing him, the scripture says, Saul and all Israel were dismayed and terrified. 15 miles away, in the hills of Bethlehem, lived the youngest of 8 sons. His name was David. While his 3 oldest brothers marched to war, David was left with the sheep. It was his father Jesse who sent him to the battle line, not to fight, to deliver bread and cheese, and to bring back news of his brothers. David reached the camp just as the army was shouting the war cry, and he ran to the front line to find his brothers. And that is when he heard it, the same challenge, the 40th day. And David watched grown soldiers, trained men of war, melt away from the line in fear. But David did not see what they saw. They saw a giant too big to fight. David saw a man too big to miss. And he asked the question no one else was asking. Who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God? His oldest brother Eliab burned with anger. Why have you come down here? Who did you leave those few sheep with? I know how conceited you are. The first enemy David faced that day was not the giant. It was the doubt of his own family. But word of the boy's question reached the king, and Saul sent for him. David looked at the king of Israel and said words that no soldier in the camp had dared to say. Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him. Saul stared at him. You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth. And David answered with his resume, not battles, sheep. Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine. Saul gave in, and then he did something strange. He dressed the shepherd in his own armor, his own bronze helmet, his own sword, the king's equipment on a boy's frame. David tried to walk and could not. "I cannot go in these," he said, "because I am not used to them." And he took them all off. Then he walked down to the stream in the valley, and he chose 5 smooth stones, and he put them in his shepherd's bag, his staff in one hand, his sling in the other. And the shepherd walked out to meet the giant. Goliath looked at what Israel had sent him, a boy, ruddy, handsome, holding a stick, and the giant was insulted. "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" And he cursed David by his gods. "Come here, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and the wild animals of the field." And then the shepherd boy answered, and his words have echoed for 3,000 years. "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's." The giant moved in to kill him, and here is the detail most people miss. David did not stand his ground. He did not brace himself. The scripture says, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. He reached into his bag. 1 stone. The sling began to whirl. He let it fly. The stone struck the Philistine on the forehead and sank in. And the mighty Goliath of Gath, champion of the Philistines, the man an entire army feared for 40 days, fell face down on the ground. David ran and stood over him. He had no sword of his own, so he drew Goliath's and finished the battle with the giant's own blade. When the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they turned and ran. And the men of Israel and Judah surged forward with a shout and pursued them all the way to the gates of their own cities. The battle lasted seconds. The story has lasted 3,000 years. Why? Because this was never really a story about a boy and a giant. Everyone in that valley measured the same way. Goliath is too big, the boy is too small. David measured differently. He did not compare Goliath to himself. He compared Goliath to God. And next to God, every giant is small. Notice where his courage came from. Not from the battlefield, from the pasture. The lion no one saw. The bear no one applauded. David's faith was built in private long before it was tested in public. Your hidden faithfulness is preparation for your public battle. And notice what he refused. The king's armor, the world's way of fighting. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is fight your battle as yourself, with what God already placed in your hands. The giant taunted for 40 days. It took 1 stone to silence him. Whatever giant is shouting at you today, whatever has kept you frozen at the edge of your own valley, remember the shepherd's words. The battle is the Lord's. This has been Covenant Chronicles, where the greatest stories ever told come to life. If this story moved you, the story of how David's greatest victory led to his darkest temptation is next. Subscribe and walk through the ancient world with us.